Now, moving forward, let me introduce our esteemed panel of judges for today's speech competition. I'd like to request Mr. Mahesh Paudel to take a seat as a judge. Mahesh Paudel is a lecturer of English at the Central Department of English, Tribhuvan University. He is also a poet, fiction writer, translator, and a critic. His writings are grouped as children's literature, young adult literature, social and cultural essays, and literary criticism. He also has several volumes of work he translated from Nepali into English. He advocates the projection and promotion of local epistemology in the global forums. He has received various awards for his work. Next, I would like to request Mr. Mahabir Paudel to also take a seat as a judge. Mahabir Paudel is an opinion writer at Republica with interest on history, domestic politics, and international relations. Likewise, I'd also like to request Mr. Maxim Raiman to take a seat as our final judge. Maxim Raiman is a general manager of the British Council. This is a humble request from our side. We would like to stand up in the respect and to pay tribute to the national anthem. I request you all to please stand up for the anthem. I very warm-heartedly invite our principal, Dr. Subhash Shrestha, onto the stage. May I invite him to grace us with his few words. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Respected Managing Director of GCI, Dr. D.L. Puri sir, Chief Guest for today's session, Mr. Prajwal Ujasa, judges, Mahabir Paudel sir, Mahesh sir, and Maxim sir, all dear students, the program coordinator, Rishabh sir, and all the assistants for the program. First of all, I would like to thank all the guests and the participating colleges and the students for accepting our invitations to be part of this sixth inter A-level speech competitions. I, the principal of GCI, on behalf of the entire Global College International family and the team, would like to formally welcome you to this event. Before I close it soon, I have few things to say. The success in career or the achievements that we usually talk, the excellence, all these things actually are based on two fundamental elements. The one is the content, and the next one is the delivery, right? So the content actually means the knowledge this person has, the informations this person has, the intelligence, the emotions this person has. That is one part. And the next part is the delivery. So it's about presentations. It's about how good you are speaking, how good you are convincing, how good you are persuading to the unpersuadables, right? So these two things complement each other. For the success in career or whatever field you are in, these two things are very much fundamentals for the achievements in life. Right? Sometimes people do have content, they are highly knowledgeable, they have informations, but they are quite weak at delivering their knowledge, their informations, so they are unable to have the impactful, impacts on the people. That's not going to help, right? Although how intelligent you are, how informative you are, how knowledgeable you are, if your delivery is not so good, people might judge you or take you in a different way. Similarly, sometimes you are very good at delivery, the presentations, you are very good at convincing the people, you have that body language, you have that skill, but you don't have a content. So people will realize you are so superficial. Yes, the approach is good, the delivery is good, the presentation is good, but you don't have a content. It's just like too rhetoric, right? So realizing these facts, we have started conducting these speech competitions every year. So this is one of the signature event of Global College Internationals, right? And I hope students will, take a lot out of this event. You will learn a lot out of this event. And I wish you all the best to all the participants for the best delivery in this event. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful words. Likewise, I would like to invite the Assistant Program Coordinator of GCI A-Levels, Mr. Susan Raj Shrestha, to address us with the rules for today's competition.
Thank you, Millie. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Chief Guest, Chairpersons, and everyone present here. Thank you for your presence here. We heartily welcome everyone here for your presence. Thank you so much. And without wasting any time further, I would like to go with the rules and regulations for the competition, which was already sent to you. I'm just going to recite it again. The speech will be judged by the jury on the ground of presentation, creativity, and originality within the prescriptive rule. Each participant will be given 5 minutes in total for the speech. There will be a warning bell after 4 minutes. The language used in this speech should be contextual and audience-friendly, whereas off-color jokes, slang expressions, and bathroom humors shall contribute to the negative marking. The announcement which indicates gender, culture, or racial stereotypes are considered as offensive measures for the competition. Speakers from the beginning should consider their intended audience to be the public, a mixed age group, not simply an audience of peer. No props or printed matters can be carried by a speaker. Excessive violence and sex or religious extremism, if determined by judges, will result in disqualification. The decision of the judges will be the final one. Thank you so much.
With this, I, Millie Tamang, would like to bid farewell as a host and invite my fellow friends, Ms. Mukta and Ms. Pranishta, to take over the hosting for the rest of the program today. Thank you.
Thank you, Millie. Moving towards the competition, we have Nivesh Shrestha from ACE Institute to deliver his speech on the topic Politics and Human Rights. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
On this very beautiful day, I'd like to quote the legend, Martin Luther King. I'm sure we all know him for what he has done. He is the perfect epitome and exemplar of what standing and voicing for human rights can do to change the political status quo of today's modern world. He once quoted, "A right delayed is a right denied." This adage is completely true in its own meaning and substance. It means that awaiting something that is justly deserved is equivalent to denying it for however long it takes to achieve it. There is one thing that marks us different from all other human beings, something we do that no other creature does. This is the very essence of being a human. The essence of being a human is that we are striving, always striving, striving to do something, striving to face something, striving to become something, striving to make others and above all, yourself happy. Hi everyone, I am Nivesh Shrestha, currently doing A-levels at ACE International Business School. I'm here standing above you all to talk about something very important, politics and human rights. Tomorrow, December 10th, World Human Rights Day. How relevant and timely it is to advocate and celebrate people's lives, dignity, and freedom. Human rights is basically the freedom, liberty, and fundamental right that is inherent to all human beings, regardless of what our gender is, what part of the world we are from, or what ethnicity and race we embody, as long as we are humans. Human rights is permitted to everyone without any prejudices. Consider how often you drink fresh water, nutritious food, and be able to express yourself. It's only possible when you are provided with adequate amount of rights. Human rights is a matter of great significance. It defines the very depth of humanity. For human rights to foster, government should work together and believe that there is nothing called a physical and national border. Every right should be equal to everybody. But for us individuals as well, we can do a lot for human rights to be achieved. I'd like to urge everyone that people are not going to remember you for what dress you had wore or what shoes you had put on, but they'll remember you for how you treated them. Treat people with kindness, compassion, and respect that everyone as you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nivesh, for such a wonderful speech.
Next up, we have Shreya Dungana from NAMI College with her topic Right to Religion and Belief. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
The right to freedom of religion and belief is a fundamental human right recognized in all major human rights treaties. The Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948, guarantees the freedom of conscience, religion, and thoughts, including the freedom to change one's religion and belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, in public or private, to manifest one's religion in worship, practice, teaching, and observance. However, whilst I was researching for the content of my speech, I came across a case of a woman which perfectly portrayed to why these forms of discussions should be vigorously put forward popularly. Lubna Yassin was a student in Baghdad who was forced to flee Iraq in 2016 in response to threats to her life after repeatedly expressing her atheist views. She was saved by a US organization and Center for a program for individuals persecuted of exercising the freedom of conscience. Silly, isn't it, to state the written law of how religion and belief have freedom, and yet in reality this is the world around us that we live in, forbidding the individuals who actually try to practice this very said right of religion, conscience, and belief. The right definitely exists in paper, but when it comes to actually implementing it, it disappears, allowing ignorant and conservative individuals who are balkanized by incompatible religious dogmas. Good morning to you all. I am Shreya Dungana, a representative of NAMI College, standing in front of you all to employ this opportunity, voicing and bringing further awareness to rights to religion and belief in hopes of portraying just how very sensitive and gravely salient this topic truly is. Globally, more than 40 countries in the world have an official state religion, and 40 others have a religion that is favored without official status. These established religions also receive often special treatments in regards to tax and special key positions, as in Lebanon, where the main government positions are divided amongst the members of the main religion followed in the country. Similarly, in Afghanistan, for example, not only must the president be a Muslim, but so must the ministers and the civil servants who have to be sworn to the country. According to the International Humanist and Ethical Union, around more than 30 countries in the world perpetrate serious violation of freedom of conscience by banning conversions of a given religion. 55 countries in the world practice and have laws banning blasphemy and criticisms to religion, and the people who break these laws are even facing imprisonment and even death. Now, moving towards in the context of Nepal, the Constitution of Nepal 2015 recognizes the secular nature of the state, and yet the PEW Global Research Report on Freedom of Religion, published in 2017 and 2018, indicates that the level of social hostilities towards minority religion in Nepal rose from a moderate level in 2014 to high level in 2015 and 2016. For example, Hindu politicians in Nepal often make remarks calling out the epidemic of conversion and Christians who try to convert Hindus. So my question remains, how can a country label itself secular in paper and yet have discriminatory practices towards religious minorities in the nation? The law exists in paper, but what about the most important part where change is necessary? The thought process of individuals. They are theists and atheists. They are not so different after all. They are both believers of something that feels correct to them. We all are believers of something that feels correct to us. So who is it that decides one is better than the other? So it is of arbitrary importance that this freedom is not violated. I am sure that a small step towards just respecting one another's views is going to obliterate a huge chunk of brutality in this world. Because keep this in mind, my dear friends, religion is not politics. Thank you, Global College, for organizing this opportunity, for giving us and having a change in perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shreya, for your informative speech.
Now, we would like to invite Mr. Sakshat Pant from Chelsea International Academy to deliver his speech on the topic Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. Let's welcome Mr. Sakshat Pant from Chelsea International Academy with a huge round of applause.
Warm greetings to one and all present here. I am Sakshat Pant from Chelsea International Academy, and today I'll discuss freedom of expression and advocacy. I hate the government. I can say this in Nepal because it has adopted the Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. If I were to say the same in Taliban, in Afghanistan, or Israel rather, I'd be dead by the minute. A lot of variables like hate speech, right to offend, and so on to discuss when we bring the topic of freedom of expression to the table. But as the title of the speech demands, everyone, we will be looking at it through the lens of advocacy. First and foremost, why does it matter? And as important as this question sounds and is, I find it to be equally stupid as ever. Freedom of expression matters just because it does. We as humans need to express ourselves. This is how we communicate. And the need of justification for simply communicating is as dystopian as it gets. Through a different angle, however, freedom of expression is like oxygen for life in a democracy. How will the state bring changes if it is not ready to hear them? Freedom House, an international human rights watchdog organization, ranks Syria the country with least amount of freedom. Interestingly, the Human Rights Index report of 2021 ranked Syria with the lowest score. Coincidence? Maybe, or perhaps not. Enough about freedom of expression, let's move towards advocacy. Keshav Ghimire, a spokesperson for the Commission for Investigation of Abuse of Authority, reported how money intended for government schools were going towards pockets of those in authorities. And of course, blanket terms such as government issues, public issues, and whatnot were being thrown around for absolutely no reason. See, this should never have happened. The general public, you and me, under the Article 19 of the UDHR, have the right to receive and seek information. A watchdog organization and investigation of this level was not required at all. So this right here, everyone, is a picture-perfect example of declining advocacy among us all, or rather complete absence of advocacy even. See, the thing wrong with us is we do not care about our expression or our rights until they are violated. This should never be the case. Know your rights, monitor them, and advocate for them rightfully. Now, what I'd like for all of you to do right now is picture yourself in the scenarios I mentioned. Let's say you cannot express yourself in the workplace, concerns labor rights. Cannot express yourself due to your sexual orientation, concerns LGBT rights. Cannot express yourself that you are from a particular religious background, concerns religious diversity throughout the world. Cannot express yourself due to your skin color, it concerns racism and minorities' rights in general. You cannot express yourself because you're differently abled, it concerns disability rights, and I mean only 100 out of 22,000 polling stations this election were disability friendly. So this absence of freedom of expression has started to affect politics as well. Now if you have a keen ear, you must have noticed that I've listed all the topics given for the speech competition. And the point I'm trying to make is, without the very foundation of freedom of expression led, all these topics, or all these rights rather, hold no concrete significance. Moving on to a rather positive example of advocacy was the example of Amini, a girl from Iran who was brutally beaten for wearing a hijab wrongly. This fueled the citizens, and protests lasting months and months were conducted until just recently the UNHCR launched an official investigation against the Islamic Republic of Iran. See, this right here, everyone, is what advocacy should look like. The investigation is nothing but a product of sheer advocacy and will. But of course, before we consider any of the examples I've given, remember, freedom of expression matters just because it does. As I come to my closing remarks, here's what I want all of you to take away. You will never know your freedom of expression is being violated until you advocate for it rightfully. You will never know your voice is being oppressed until you voice your opinions. So know your rights, monitor them, advocate for them, and protect your rights rightfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakshat, for such an amazing speech. We really got to learn a lot of things from this speech.
Next up, we have Nihona Pradhan from Global College International with our topic racism. So Nihona Pradhan with our topic racism.
Good morning, my dear excellencies and the jury presenter. I am Nihona Pradhan and I will be giving a speech on the topic racism. Recounting the instances of humiliation people have endured, I implicit in the voice addressing it. The world is wrong. You cannot put the past behind you. It's buried in you. It's turned your flesh into its own cupboard. Who did what to whom on which day? Who said that? Did I just hear what I think I just heard? And did that just come out from my mouth, your mouth, our mouth? This verse was taken out from the poem Citizen an American Lyric, which talks about racism and imagination. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know what racism is and how intense it has been getting. We know the importance of getting people to see beyond the issue, because in matters of discrimination, nothing is as simple as it seems. Nothing is as simple as a headline, a clever news article, or seemingly beginning phrase like, I'm not a racist, but, because 9 times out of 10, it's a prelude to a racist comment. Racism is in our streets, in our workplaces, and at times even in our institutions. Sometimes it's within us. It's in the way we think, even if we don't realize it. When we realize it, it will be labeled as a joke, an inappropriate joke. 2 people apply for the same job. They have the same education, the same work experience, the same dreams, but only one of them gets an interview. Why? because the other one comes from a different part of the country or has a different name. Racism is amongst us. It's in the racial slurs used against the well-known singers just because they're Asian. It's in the conspiracy theories against Jews. It's in the violence and mistrust against refugees and migrants. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall be brief, but I would like to use my remaining time to remind you that this situation is not a complicated one. It requires no matter of shifting of complicated facts, but it does require you to be sure beyond a reasonable doubt. In the cynical confidence that such testimony would not be doubted, confident that you, ladies and gentlemen, would go along with them on the assumption our society has created, the evil assumption that all colored people lie, that all colored people are basically moral beings, and that all colored men are not to be trusted around our women. The evil assumption that one associates with minds of their caliber. But we know is a lie. We know the truth, and the truth is this, not all. Some colored people lie, some colored people are immoral beings, and some colored men are not to be trusted around our women, red or green or any other color we represent. But this truth applies to all human races. There's not a single person in this room who has never told a lie, who has never done an immoral thing, and there's no man living who has never looked upon a woman without desire. Such assumptions and contradicting issues exist, and it's upon us to realize if it's morally justifiable or not. One more thing, ladies and gentlemen, before I quit. Thomas Jefferson once said that all men are created equal. The most ridiculous example I can think of right now is people who run public education who will gravely tell you this because all men are created equal. We have been growing up listening to such stories because all men are created equal. But with the conventional wisdom we have, ladies and gentlemen, we know not all men are created equal in the sense that there exists superiority and inferiority amongst us. But some will have us believe that they are smarter than us, they have more opportunities because they're born with it, and they are born gifted beyond the normal scope of most men. But in our country, there's one human institution that makes all men the equal of the Einstein, and ignorant man the equal of any college president. That institution, ladies and gentlemen, is this room right now. It can be the humblest institutions in any land. Our learning has its faults, ladies and gentlemen. So does any human institutions. But in our country, our human institutions are the great levelers. And in our institutions, all men are created equal. In the name of God, I am confident that you, ladies and gentlemen, will review my jurisdiction with passion. What will people think when they hear about us from years from now? Will we be known as the people who allowed racism, or will we be known as the people who learned from their past experience, harnessed the possibilities of the present, and created a different future? Ladies and gentlemen, it's up to me, it's up to you, and it's up to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nihona, for your eye-opening speech.
Moving on, we have Mr. Prajwal Khadka from Orient College to deliver his speech on the topic human trafficking. Let's welcome Mr. Prajwal Khadka with a huge round of applause to deliver his speech on human trafficking.
Are we destined to live in such a chaotic situation where our life is always in a threat of several insecurities of being trafficked? Are we intended to sold with lot of bargains like that of cattle? Thank you, dear host, honorable chairperson, respected chief guest, impartial juries, and all my dear mates from different A-level institutions and all those present here. I am Prajwal Khadka, representing my college, Orient College, ideally located at Basundhara, Kathmandu, standing in front all of you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Global College International for organizing this auspicious event, and secondly, I'd like to express my special thanks of gratitude to my college for giving me this enormous opportunity to express my opinion in this huge platform. The title of my speech is Human Trafficking. Human trafficking, also known as trafficking in person, is a crime that involves compelling or coercing a person to provide labor or services or to engage in commercial sex acts. The coercion can be subtle or overt, physical or psychological. It is a worldwide spread global crime and one of the most shameful crime in existence, since it robs millions of people's dignity worldwide. It is world's fastest growing global crime, ending up with death. The most tragic fact is 26% of the most tragic fact is 26% of the people involved in trafficking includes children. Since the violation of human rights include children at all, along with it's the violation of human rights at all. All in all, the exploitation of human rights includes in the victims of human trafficking include the people of any age group and any gender and can be anyone around the world. However, the primary targets of human trafficking are females. The teenager, boys and girls are more vulnerable and easily become the victims of human trafficking. Once Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful speech, Mr. Prajwal.
Next up, we have Sweta Koirala from Campion School with the topic child abuse. Sweta Koirala with the topic child abuse.
Good afternoon. I'm Sweta Koirala and I'm representing Campion A-Levels in this very speech competition on the theme of human rights. In accordance with the theme, I bring forth to you today a very disgusting violation of human rights that has been glossed over by society itself: child abuse. In society, have you ever felt like no one was acknowledging you? Have you ever felt unimportant, invisible even, like no one cares at all? Have you ever felt so tense and overwhelmed that all you wanted to do was scream, but once you opened your mouth, a sound wouldn't come out? I'm sure we've all felt like this at one point or another in our lives, but imagine feeling this constantly. Even as an adult, it would take a huge toll on their mental health, but as a child, it would completely destroy them. Sadly, this, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what it feels like to be a victim of child abuse. In fact, 1 in 7 children are victims of such terrors. A young girl molested time and again by her relatives doesn't dare utter a word, yet is blamed for being antisocial and fearing physical contact. But the very one time she decides to speak about her abuse, she is called delusional and is forbidden to speak of it ever again, for it is a disgrace to the family and society. The young boy who's failing his classes are mocked by his teachers, but they fail to know that he's scared to go home every day because of a drunken father. A little kid who feels himself a burden has run away from home and is working hours and hours on end in order to provide food barely enough for himself. Yet everybody says he's a rogue kid, and nobody gives a second glance. Don't you think it's humiliating that society has come to this? Yes, we can't deny that there have been rules and organizations working against child cruelty, but it wasn't always like this. Let's go back to the very first case of child abuse that was reported. It was back in 1874, where a child, an 8-year-old child, Mary Ellen Wilson, had been severely abused by her foster parents. At that time, even when people knew about Mary's condition, nobody could do anything. There were no laws against cruelty to children. Usually at that time, parents disciplining their kids were regarded in forms of physical abuse were regarded normal. But since this was taken too far, the authorities had to use laws against cruelty to animals in order to ensure Mary's safety. Fortunately, this led to many revolts and the creation of New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Mary, the poor child, is regarded as the one who gave a human face to child abuse. Speaking statistically, UNICEF has said that 19% of children from ages 5 to 13 are involved in child labor. This is just ridiculous. They're mere children. They should be in school, they should be playing, they should be doted on by their parents. But no, they're forced to exploit themselves. Similarly, it's not only this. An annual estimate of 1,750 children die from the neglect of their own parents. And 18% of children are sexually abused. But that's only the reported cases. What about the ones who don't dare to speak up? The ones who are being threatened and blackmailed by their abuser? The ones who are fearful of society disregarding them? Their voices are lost in the silence. As a society, we have failed. We have failed deeply. We have become silent spectators rather than active advocates. So together, as people with sense of humanity, we must work together to restore the lost voices of these children and fight against child abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweta, for your informative speech.
Now, we would like to invite upon the stage Mr. Leben Bautista Pradhan from Campion School to deliver his speech on the topic Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. May I repeat, Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Hello. Okay. A very warm good afternoon to everyone present here today. And if I may introduce myself, my name is Leben Bautista Pradhan, and in relation to today's theme, human rights, I'll be speaking on the topic of freedom of speech and its advocacy. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "One's philosophy is not best expressed in words, but expressed through one's actions. And our actions, in the end, ultimately is our responsibility." Honestly speaking, I have to say I have forgotten most portions of my speech, so therefore I would like to go with an impromptu speech. Since I am talking about freedom of speech, I'd like to bring up a social topic. I'm pretty sure everyone here has used social media and is in use of social media. I'm pretty sure you're all aware that as of now, multiple protests and more or less violence and regulations and whatnot has been going through, because as of now, people tend to forget that the freedom of speech and advocacy in itself has limitations. Yes, human rights protects our rights, and we are free to speak and say what happens in our brains, but people often forget and go out of line with what should be done. So with respect to social media, I would more or less, there is generally a misconception about misconception on hate speech and hate crime. More or less, the difference is in which hate crime more has to do with when a particular individual has gone against a legal obligation or is in has violence or gone against in any racial discrimination way of which they have gone against other people's views or whatnot and violated other people's rights. Freedom of speech. Over the years, advocacy is something that is more or less in a positive insight of what one's intentions or expressions or forms. They are advocates, are people who speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And in ways, effective advocacy more or less is helpful in making policymakers and making rules and certain changes within the country in itself. For example, democracy is more likely to be common, or more people are most likely to speak in the US or UK. But in countries such as China or Venezuela, the chances of people being able to speak, or as they are and always will be certain ways in which the current era of human civilization is an everlasting and overgrowing possibility of concepts in the urban stages, but human rights, which was started over in 1984 over the 6. I'm really sorry, but this is as much as I can say right now. But I do hope you all have a good day and enjoy the other participants' speeches. So thank you.
Everyone, please maintain silence and let the speakers speak. Thank you, Mr. Levin. Even though you're nervous, the words of your speech were really inspiring and nice.
Moving forward, we have Kaviraj Pandey from Orient College with his topic, human trafficking.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, respected chairperson, chief guest, judges, seniors, teachers, and all my dear mates. It's me, Kaviraj Pandey, A-level student from Orient College. I'm standing here before you to deliver a speech on something important which we all must know about. Once, an anthropologist, Dr. Amam Onorianma, said that respect of each human life ensures the continuity of humanity. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you all are right. I'm here to deliver my speech on the topic of human trafficking. Human trafficking is the trade of human for the purpose of sexual slavery, forced labor, organs removal, commercial sexual exploitation, and economic exploitation. Normally, trafficking is done by threat, misuse of power, abuse of misleading, abuse of power, vulnerabilities, and etc. If we look in the context of underdeveloping countries like Nepal, Bhutan, India, etc., we can find many human traffickers are there in the country. The main reason of all the human traffickers are unemployment and uneducation. Illiteracy brings many problems along with the interest in the development of the country. All the human traffickers are there only because of unemployment. if we are able to create employment opportunities in our own country, I'm sure that human trafficking is going to be controlled. According to UN, human trafficking is the second most profitable criminal industry in the world. It makes 150 billion US dollar each year. After the drug trafficking, human trafficking is the only crime that is at the top of the criminal industry. Once Albert Einstein said that the world will not be destroyed by those who do evils, but by those who watch them without doing anything. So, though we might not be affected by human trafficking personally, but all the world is suffering from human trafficking. So let's give our big hands to fight against human trafficking with the slogan of truth should be told, humans should not be sold. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kabiraz, for your informative speech.
Now, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Himanshu Bahadur Subedi Chetri from Trinity International College to deliver his speech on the topic Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Distinguished guests, honorable judges, and my beloved friends, I am Himanshu Bahadur Subedi Chetri from Trinity. What is one thing that truly keeps us free? In my perspective, it is the freedom of expression and advocacy. Now, in layman's terms, it basically means being able to say whatever you want without being in legal trouble. Now, for a community to function, it is vital for the freedom of advocacy and expression to work. A community depends on its citizens expressing themselves and the community growing and working around its citizens' expressions. But now, let me ask you this. Should this right be limited? Now, I'm pretty sure most of you will say no, but I will give my views on it very soon. Okay, so, Martin Luther King Jr. himself had stated that he and his community were suppressed, and the day that he got to speak and express his thoughts freely was the day he truly felt free. The United Nations also has stated that everyone should be able to use this right clearly, they should be able to speak equally, and in terms of our country, the Constitution of Nepal has also stated that we should all be able to speak through any of our opinions and its source. So my main point is this right, this freedom is too precious to be meddled with. But let's take a step back. Imagine a scenario, a community in which a person can say anything that he or she wants. For me, that is a disaster. Because there have been many instances, and I would like to state one, where the musician Kanye West recently showed his support for anti-Semitism. And yes, that created a wave of people supporting him, hence causing a deeper problem in the society. And another instance in which people have been, during the pandemic, people have been supporting and advocating Asian hate, and nothing happened to them because the freedom of expression was protecting them. Now I ask you this again, should this freedom be limited? Yes, thank you. Not to the extent of suppression, no, but to the extent in which someone has to think twice before advocating violence or partaking in hateful speech. Now, I'd like to paint you another picture. A community, a person can say anything that he or she wants, but is limited when he or she wants to partake in violent advocating speech. That will truly benefit the society. Why? Because that will lower violence all in all. At this stage, this freedom has been abused. People have been overusing this freedom. So I'm saying that this freedom has to be amended. This freedom has to change. But we, as a society, have to find the silver lining in which it's just a limitation and not suppression. And only then can we prosper as a society. Like I had stated, this precious freedom has to be amended. It has to change. By saying this, I hope I changed your views and your ideas on the freedom of expression and advocacy. I thank you all for your kind attention. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Himanshu, for your inspiring speech.
Next up, we have Anamika Karki from Kathmandu World School with our topic LGBTQ.
Hello, mic check. Okay. Excuse me, could you help me again? It's falling off. I'm sorry. A little bit down. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anamika Karki, and I am representing Kathmandu World School. My today's topic is LGBTQ. Starting off, I would like to give credit to an Indian poet and Dennis Foreman as a source of information. No, they don't bite. No, they aren't vampires that they will bite you and you will churn. No, auntie, they aren't Saturn worshippers. No, they won't force your child into being a gay. No, pink and purple doesn't look gay on you. No, just because you prefer shirts over skirts doesn't mean they will mistake you for being a lesbian. Yes, they're just like us. Question, how does one look gay? Do you have to be covered in rainbows, or do you have to dress like Lady Gaga, like what? I don't understand. I assume Harry Styles and Billie Eilish are all bad dressers because nobody wants to look gay. When was the last time you heard a guy wearing a black shirt say, "Dude, does it make me look straight?" Why is it every time I'm holding my guy best friend's hand in public, I'm being told it's illegal? Hi, governments talking to you. Or, look, Section 165 is here again. You don't know what it is? It claims that every torture is criminalized. What freedom are we living? They can't marry who they want. Sorry, we can't marry who we want. I say we, because why is there community? Why are straight people not in this community? Why can't there be no community? How can you classify homosexuals as being different from us when we classify ourselves as heterosexual and hetero means different? How can you classify homosexuals as being different from us when we, the society, stress on the fact that everyone should be different? How can you classify homosexuals as being different from you and me? Now that the bunch of questions has come to an end, I would like to mention top 10 points that one has to know about LGBTQ. 1. In the name of Dennis Foreman, dear straight people, gender and sexuality are two different things. 2. Being a part of LGBTQ community won't make you any less of a human. 3. Being a part of straight community won't make you any more of a human. 4. Don't say you believe in hashtag pride and still call your friend a gay for wearing pink. 5. Don't say you believe in hashtag pride and still call your friend a lesbian just because he doesn't like anyone. 6. Don't say you believe in hashtag pride just because everyone else does. 7. Believe in hashtag pride because you are proud. 8. Believe in hashtag pride because you want to. 9. Believe in hashtag pride so that it's not just a hashtag anymore. 10. Say the hashtag pride without the hashtag because it's not the trend. Pride. It's about the rights, the LGBTQ rights. Thank you, everyone. You guys are a wonderful audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Anamika, for your eye-opening speech.
Now, we would like to invite Ms. Riti Gortaula from Little Angels College to speak on her topic, human trafficking. Let's welcome Ms. Riti with a huge round of applause.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon to the panel of judges and everybody present here. I am Riti Gortola from Little Angels College, and as I was researching bits and bits about every topics that was mentioned, I was so shocked to come across, out of all the topics, that human trafficking is the one that is most prevalent and close to home than any other one. The way we think human trafficking as an innocent girl, it's not just human trafficking is close to home and most prevalent, not just because we all have heard and read about it in the newspaper headlines or any other things. It's because you and I, we are all a part of it. And the confused faces in the audience tells me that the understanding we have about human trafficking is completely wrong, because the way we discuss about it is a bad man uses an innocent girl for exploitation, but human trafficking is so much more than that. It's present and embedded in our own community. Human trafficking, also known as transporting humans into the situation where they are exploited. More than 21 million people in the world are trafficked every year globally, out of which 22% of them are used for sexual exploitation, while 10% are used for state-enforced labor. On the other hand, 68% of them are used for forced labor exploitation. So the forced labor exploitation are the same population that they use to make the very goods and services we use in our day-to-day lives. We rely on them. We depend on the goods they produce. When we are faced with such situation, we normally as citizens turn into the legal forces for help. So when but in most of the cases, this community which are being exploited are the marginalized and undereducated part of the community we are dealing here with. So, according to many studies, people who are used for forced sex labor, they have reported that 20 to 60% of the people used in the surveys reported that they were raped or abused by the police itself in the past year alone. So the question is, can we really trust the legal system we have now to make sure that all the victims get the justice they deserve? However, we have to make clear. We have to take the political and we have to take the help of political and the policies that have to be expanded so that all the people who are the victims get their justice. Now, when the people who are being victims of these crimes are women of vulnerable communities who are forced for sex trades, the migrant workers who are debt trapped into foreign lands, and sweet shop or farmers who are the sweet shop or the farmers who are being exploited and blackmailed so that to produce cheap products. That's all for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Reeti, for a wonderful speech.
Moving forward, we have Samriti Adhikari from British Model College with her topic Corruption in Human Rights.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we feeling today? Are we feeling good? Because I'm feeling good. Okay, so a very warm good afternoon to everyone present out here. Can I get help with these? No, wait, it's okay. It's okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone present out here. It's me, Samriti Adhikari, representing British Model College, and my topic for today is corruption and human rights. So, what exactly is corruption? I bet all of you know what corruption is. It's a very basic thing. But corruption, despite its basic definition or contextual uses, corruption is a dishonest or illegal activity that is conducted by those in power. Now, according to the 2021 CPI, which is the Corruption Perception Index, Denmark, New Zealand, and Finland are the least corrupt countries in the world, whereas Syria, South Sudan, and Somalia are the most corrupt countries in the world. Now, corruption is a very complex phenomenon without a uniform definition. Now, moving forward, the concept of human rights is equally complex. Human rights are generally divided into three categories, which is also referred to as generations. First generation rights are civil and political rights, such as right to a fair trial. Second generation rights are economic, political, and cultural rights, which can also be included inside a right to health and education. Now, lastly, third generation rights are group or collective rights, which is also included in right to self-development, or maybe right to self-development, or self-determination. Now, this strong link between human rights and corruption is greatly emphasized by numerous institutions. For example, in 2019, Transparency International stated that where there is corruption, human rights disappear. So there is a negative correlation between human rights and corruption. Likewise, in 2018, addressing the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated that corruption has a significant impact on all areas of human being. It despoils the environment. It breeds disillusion with the government, which is often the root cause of social disunity and political dysfunction. Now, in today's world, the current world, there is a little disagreement that corruption has a detrimental impact on all areas of human being. It also has a very significant negative impact on access of human rights-related goods and services to all citizens of a nation. Now, corruption not only leads to violation of a specific right, but it also resembles a structural obstacle to every human rights-related sector. Now, let me guys give you a real-life example. In 2008, a very large corruption scandal took place in the United States of America, where 2 judges from the court of Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, they received $2.6 million for sending young offenders to these private juvenile facilities. Now, these 2 judges altered the lives of more than 2,600 children involving 6,000 cases. Now, this is really funny to me. So what happened was children were being sent to custody for minor things as shoplifting or maybe getting into a fight with a friend. Just imagine, like, you're drinking beer, mistaking it for apple juice, and the next thing you know, you're in handcuffs. Just imagine that. That would be really funny. That's really funny to me. Like, why are you in jail? I drank apple juice. That would be really funny to me. Anyways, so corruption constitutes one of the major obstacles in human rights. It leads to discriminatory access to various public-related goods and services who have influence on these authorities by offering bribes or maybe even resorting to political parties. So therefore, the whistleblowers who are the right employee or people who provide information to right people or organization, they should be protected. And special mechanisms against corruption should be implemented so that there is a little intervention of human rights and corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samriddhi, for your engrossing speech.
Moving on, we have Ms. Dilasha Parajuli from GEMS Institute of Higher Education on her topic, Politics in Human Rights. Let me repeat, Politics in Human Rights. Let's welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Okay, so I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Real laws make a real right. Imaginary laws make imaginary things. Laws that are created by poets, rhetoricians, all make something that is immorally right. And the thing here, this quote was said by Jeremy Bennett, who is an Oxford philosopher regarding human right in itself. Good afternoon to everyone present here. My name is Dilasha Parajuli. I'm from GEMS Institute of Higher Education, and my topic is politics and human rights. So, okay, the moment I mention politics and human rights, I think many people have this ideology or mindset that government gives us this right, and the Constitution brings us this right. But then the thing I would like to say is that's very wrong concept that everyone has. Because the moment we are born, we are labeled as human beings. The moment we step on this earth or we are brought on this earth, we are labeled as human beings. So why can't we have right alongside with that? Why does the government need to provide us that right to be labeled as a human being in general, supposing? And now, government having ownership upon the right is also a very wrong concept, because UDHR simply pointed towards the right. They did not say that the government owns the right or the political powers hold the right. In today's world where power is what holds people and not people holding power, and by power I think everyone just imagines that is that a political party, because that is the ruling government or the ruling power in the country in itself. And the thing here is that what many government has been doing is suppressing people of their right, suppressing people feelings, ideology, not being able to speak freely in itself. Now taking example, I think everyone watches World Cup. When Iran lost to the United States, I think many people thought that they were crying because, well, they lost, and obviously losing a World Cup, especially when you come in a group stage, is a very sad thing. But the thing is, they were actually afraid of the government, because in Iran, when a man celebrated the victory of United States of America, that man got brutally killed. Where is the human right there? Where is the human right in the question in political power? And the thing is, okay, let me just tell that if people suppose that government has ownership upon this human right, then I'll tell you this, that we own the government. Government does not own us, which means we own the right, and the government does not own the right at all. Government are people in itself, and they have right as well. But then they have been violating people's right for generation and generation. Politics in today's concept has been a major joke and has been a major flaw. Let us not confuse politics with revolutions. Revolutions such as Black Lives Matter, revolutions for women to vote, revolutions to LGBTQ rights. Those are revolutions. Those are not political power, and people have been confusing that. Imagine we're living in a world where people have to fight for their right to the government. Government don't even provide us that, and we've been fighting, struggling, and even crawling to, we're begging imagine begging in front of the government just to give you the right to live. And that is a very wrong concept. UDHR simply pointed out the right. We had the right the moment we stepped on it. We had the right since the beginning of the human revolution, and politics owns nothing of it. Politics simply is supposed to guide us towards the right and say that we have duties towards that right, and not own human being in general term in speaking. There is 30 articles in UDHR. And these articles were being brought up in 1948 by the UN in itself. There are 30 articles, and only one article talks about politics in human right. The 30 articles talks about human right. So I don't think so there should be any rights or laws regarding politics owning those human right in general, because that's a wrong conceptualization. I'll be giving some examples regarding Nepal in itself. Sukumbasi, I think everyone knows Sukumbasi, right? So what Sukumbasi did was, when the government went to take their lands, they used children as shields so that the police don't go through that. They've been doing it illegally for years and years, and they've been using children as shields. And let's not forget about political parties using minors like 17 and 16 years old as a shield so that they don't get killed in a political riot. They have been using human beings, and their citizens have been manipulated by them for a long time, yet we are voting for them. We're not voting for right people. We're voting for people who are harming our human rights, and every day. We have also been, and you might be thinking that government does not harm our human right, and directly towards us, but then that's very wrong, because our human rights have been harmed by politics for a very long time, and that would also include that our elections have been very manipulated since very beginning, and we don't even know a lot of things in politics. Where is the right to information and right to resources that people preach about a lot? By saying this, I would like to end my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dilasa, for such an energetic speech.
Moving forward, we have Pranisha Fayak from GEMS Institute of Higher Education with our topic, Freedom of Expression and Advocacy.
I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. In a society where we are not permitted to voice our opinions, in a society where our concerns are not heard, and in a society where expressing our emotions is criminalized, are we truly living free and dignified lives? A very good afternoon to everybody present here. I am Pranisha Frak from GEMS Institute of Higher Education, and I will be speaking on the topic freedom of expression and advocacy. 74 years ago from tomorrow, on the 10th of December 1948, the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to reaffirm faith to fundamental human rights. This document, it proclaims, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights proclaims the inalienable rights that we as humans are entitled to from our birth, regardless of our sex, gender, nation, origin, or any other status. And such rights include the right to mobility, the right to marriage, the right to free information. However, despite being agreed upon by all of the members of the United Nations, the UDHR is still failed to be implemented properly in all of the member nations. For example, so many nations are still denying their civilians from their basic human rights. Amongst them, Article 19, which states that each individual has the freedom of opinion and expression, is the most important right which is being denied. With each passing day, millions of people globally are denied their free human basic rights. They are not being able to live fully, they're not being able to live a fully dignified and equal life. Above all, they are condemned from advocating for their human rights. We live in a globalized society where global policies are strong enough to provide justice to the victims. However, the victims are hushed. They are forcefully suppressed. Imagine, you are aching from pain, however you cannot scream for help. That is what millions go through every single day. Talk about the civil unrest in Iran. So in Iran, there is a law that legally requires women to fully cover their hair with a hijab. So on the 14th of September this past year, 22 years old Mahsa Amini was arrested for her improper hijabing wears. 2 days after her arrest, she was announced dead. Post-mortem reports suggest that she died as a result of a wound being inflicted on her head by the Iranian guidance policy officers. So Mahsa Amini's death, it left the Iranian youth outraged, specifically the women. Symbolic protests where women took off their hijabs and burned it in the streets of Iran, as well as direct protests which resulted in flash mobs, have been a recurring protest since the past 3 months in Iran. How did the government react to this? The Iranian government addressed this through violent movements and suppression. Security forces have been consistently using unlawful force upon the civilians. Civilians are being attacked with live ammunition at a close range. Water cannons and tear gases have been misused. More than 500 people have died in the protest, seeking justice, seeking freedom, seeking their basic human rights. This is not right at all. Imagine if your house does not listen to your concerns, if your house does not listen to your problems, is that house truly a home? Now, you might be wondering, if the UDHR is a globally authoritative document, then why doesn't it punish the transgressors? Well, the thing is, the organs of the United Nations, which monitor and investigate the cases regarding human rights, they cannot directly take action upon the transgressors. They cannot tell the transgressors, they cannot tell the member countries to change their state policies. They cannot tell them to compensate victims. All they can do is put them on probation. So, being today's youth, I believe that we are tomorrow's future. We cannot go to the United Nations headquarters and go knocking on their door seeking justice. However, what we can do is start from here, our hearts. We have to have a shared consensus. We have to give others' lives, others' values, and others' beliefs the same importance that we give to our values and beliefs. We have to stand and seek justice for the victims. We have to stand with the ones that are wronged. We have to seek justice. We have to seek truth. I believe that all of us here can optimize the power wielded to us. I believe that we, the future of tomorrow, can build a better future on the foundations of peace, harmony, and individual sovereignty. Thank you so much, everybody, for your undivided attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranisha, for your amazing speech.
Next up, we have Doma Sherpa from Nami College to speak on the topic racism. Let's welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toma Sheba, and I'm representing Nami College. Today, I'm here to deliver my speech on the topic racism. Racism is a harmful belief that one's skin color or race is considered superior than another's, and as a result, people being treated poorly based on their race or skin color, and people who have such beliefs are known as racist. As the saying goes, no one is born a racist. It happens as people face the dark side of life or through social interactions. Racism is around us. It's in our society. It doesn't always make the headlines, but it's there. And how many of you here are aware about the segregation of the black and white people? That has to be one of the main racial discrimination in our world's history. Up until the 80s in South Africa, black and white people were allowed to live together. They weren't allowed to have a child together, nor work together. And the mixed children were usually labeled as born or crime, and the police would take those children away and lock the parents up. Usually the black parents were locked up. Even though this was ended when a new constitution was formed, there was still segregation between the black and the white people. The black people faced routine discrimination in their households, in their workplace, and they were sometimes even abused by the white people. But all of this came to an end. All of this was ended by a single person, Dr. Martin Luther King. He was an activist and a prominent leader of America. He was known for his African American civil rights. He believed in justice and equality and was against racism. He violenced many movements to end segregation between the black and the white people and counter prejudice in the United States. In his speech, I Have a Dream, is very famous and is considered a masterpiece of rhetoric. In his speech, he said that he wanted 4 of his children to live in a nation where people were not judged by the skin color, but rather by the content of their character. So, to achieve that dream, he led out several movements to end racism and bring equality among the people. But even after all that, racism was still lingering around. Just a few years ago, around 2021, George Floyd, a black man, was choked to death by a white police officer. Even when George was resisting, the police continued to pin him down, which later resulted in George's death. This fueled another movement to end racism and bring equality among the people. Black Lives Matter was a call for an action. It made us look in the mirror and reflect about who we are, who we want to be as a community of free people. No country can claim to be free of racism. It's a global concern, and tackling it requires universal effort. And the same holds true for Nepal. Although racism isn't as prevalent as it is in other nations, racism still exists here. Here, lighter complexion are considered the norm of beauty, and darker skin tones are seen as significantly less attractive. I have seen numerous girls of my age being bullied for having darker skin tones. Even one of my own friends was bullied for having dark skin complexion. She made every effort to lighten her skin through various whitening treatments and with the aid of makeup. I still remember the Fair and Lovely ad from when I was little. Basically, in that advertisement, the actor has a dark skin, but he isn't treated fairly among the society. But after he uses that product, his skin gradually becomes more lighter, and he starts to become more popular and receives better treatment among the society. So what I'm trying to convey here is that this advertisement showed us our reality. Not only that, This whole product showed us how institutionalized racism was in our society. No one even questioned that product. Why would we want a whitening product? And the answer to that is simple, because racism exists. Because here, lighter skin tones are considered more attractive and darker skin tones are considered as seen as less attractive. But no one deserves to be treated based on their skin color, because it's not like when you cut a black person they will bleed black, or when you cut a white person they will bleed white. We all would bleed the same color, that is red, and we all feel the same pain and joy. So no one deserves to be treated based on their skin color, but rather how they are as a person. So we must be better than this. I know we can be better than this. And with that, I would like to conclude my speech by saying that racism must be eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doma, for such an inspiring speech.
Next up, we have Bipin Timilsena from Kastamandap A-Level Academy with his topic, Right to Education.
Good morning, everyone. It's me, Bipin Timilsena from Kastamandap A-Level Academy. Today's topic of mine is right to education. Education is not a privilege. It is a right given to every individual. It is even mentioned in the Constitution of Nepal, even by the United Nations. So the others have no right to violate your right to education, as it is a basic right and fundamental right. I was so shocked while doing the research for this speech that among 7 million children between the age of 5 to 15, more than 1.1 million children in Nepal are currently as a child labor. The data, looking at the data, it made me realize that I am so blessed to get the education. So many children all around the globe are facing the problem. The major reason is that because they are not getting their right to education. Just by mentioning that you got the right does not guarantee that that is being followed by a country. That should be implemented in a proper manner. You guys must have noticed that so many times on the day of Children's Day and other day, some politicians go to some educational some orphanages and give education for few children. That is not the way. If they are providing the education, the education should be provided to each and everyone without the bias. You guys might be thinking that the education is provided in the government school are free, but do you think that can match the standard of this college? No. And do you think they can go in the global arena with that education? Let me give you an example. A few months back, I was coming from my hometown to Kathmandu. In the middle, I saw few children working in a hotel as a child labor. When asked with them whether they were going to school or not, they were not. Their age was hardly between 8 to 10. They were forced to work as a dishwasher and as a waiter in a hotel. And when asked, they had no one in their family, and the right to education of them were violated. Where was the government during this time? What was the government was doing this? Even the local authority had no control. The local government authorities should work hard so that each and every children, and even not only children, as it is a basic right, even the oldest people should also get their education, as it is our fundamental right. The government should organize some program like education for all. Why can't a 50-year-old guy can go and just learn some English? If you go to a district office, there is citizens. There is a notice board that I forgot the name. Okay, there is a citizens board where you can find all the information about which service to get where from where. But if you have not got an education, you don't know where to get that service. The service and the corruption starts from there. Now you need to find a third party, a broker, to be precise. You have to pay them extra money for the same service that is offered by the government for the free of cost. Who do you think is responsible for that? The government alone is responsible. Just by opening a school does not mean that the country is giving the education to the children. They must implement in a proper way. Even the oldest people and children fall under this category. Even women should also be given the education. In the past, of our country, many people were facing the discrimination and this and that, so the women were not allowed. But now, in the 21st century, the women are allowed to go to school. So we should work from our side to stop this, to let everyone get the education. As you all know, the Benjamin Franklin, he said that the greatest investment of a nation can do is in education and knowledge, and which can give you the greatest interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Bipin, for your inspiring speech.
Now, we would like to invite upon the stage Mr. Abhi Shrestha from Trinity International College to deliver his speech on the topic Workers' Safety. Workers' Safety. Let's invite him with a huge round of applause.
Good morning, my respected judges, my fellow competitors, and my peers from the Global College. I am Abhi Shrestha from A2, representing Trinity International College amidst all of you today to present my views and opinions about an everlasting quandary of the human civilization, workers' safety, and human rights. In the scorching hot desert, the migrant workers toil and sweat, their bodies drained and wet, yet they carry on. They labor for hours long, enduring difficult conditions just to get by. Their spirits might be strong, but their bodies cannot last forever, however. And so they struggle on in the desert forever. How? How can we stoop so low? How could we ever treat a human being in that way? We are humans, you and I, we're all humans. And what makes us distinct, what sets us apart from every other creature on planet Earth? Just beyond the ability to think, to communicate, and understand complex ideas, there is something else. There is something inherent about each and every one of us. And that defines that defines humanity. And that, of course, is our ability to form deep emotional connections with each other. We are capable of empathy and of compassion with each other, even strangers. Just being a human is enough to form a bond, and that is human. And from these characteristics that are so beautiful, we have made such complex but wonderful societies where we perform our duties and enjoy our rights. And the most basic of those basic rights are the human rights. They are a set of inalienable rights which we inherit for just existing as humans. And they guarantee that the society is equal and that every individual within that society is equitable. However, just one look around, and you will realize that these are deceptions. Let's be clear. In a fair and just society we live not. Oh, far from it. This is a society of prejudice. This is a society of inequality. And the quintessential embodiment of this crime against humanity is the treatment of workers. Yes, that is right. The very foundation of this society is what suffers most from the gross inequality in it. The right to a safe and healthy workplace is something that should be guaranteed from every constitution, by every government, and by every other organization. Yet, workers are still denied a working place that is safe, a guaranteed pay without which their living is non-existent. And a perfect case study for this comes from the biggest global event of 2022, of course, the FIFA World Cup. Ever since the inauguration of this corrupt 2022 version, we have been bombarded with facts and figures, most prominently a statistic showing that ever since Qatar won the bid to host a decade ago, 6,500 migrant workers have died in that country, most prominently from South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. And from Nepal, ranking second highest on that list, 1,600 people have died. But again, those are just numbers. Those are just figures. What about the real people behind them? What about their families? Each and every one of those 1,600 plus people from this very land have suffered unimaginable horrors. What about them? I would like to give you an example of one of those people. Emmanuddin Mia Hawari was from Nepal. He was not able to find a job here, and he left for Qatar. He paid large sums to even get there in the first place, but once he got there, the situations got dire. And on December 18, 2020, he committed suicide. His father said that he always called back saying he would like his wedding to be prepared, but he never returned. Instead, his father had to prepare for a funeral. In conclusion, it is cruel. It is inhumane, it is unfair, it is unjust. And so shall we be if we do not muster up the courage to make this wrong into a right. Why this prejudice? Why this inequality? Why this cruelty? These are but merely a flaw in this, a construct in this flawed society. Why don't we rise up and reform it for the better? Because every human matters. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Rabi, for such an amazing speech.
Before I call up next candidate, I would like everyone to please stop commotion and maintain silence. So next up, we have Prisma Sitola from Chelsea International Academy with the topic racism.
Can I start? Want to? Warm greetings to the judges, respected teachers, and my friends. Today, I, Prisma Sitola, represent Chelsea International Academy to talk about racism, a term we've all heard of, a concept we all know of, a deterministic belief system that sustains racialism, linking these characters to negatively valued social, psychological, and physical traits. A heinous practice that has been going on for centuries. That's right, my dear friends, centuries. Racism was at the heart of North American slavery, colonization, and the empire-building activities of Western Europe in the 18th century. And by the 19th century, my dear friends, racism had spread globally in all parts of the world. However, with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, several constitutional and legal measures were aimed at protecting the rights of racial minorities. However, due to private beliefs and practices, people remained racist. And that tendency, ladies and gentlemen, persisted well through the 21st century. Today, racism exists everywhere and we just can't seem to escape it. A recent example of racism at its worst was during the global pandemic, which gave rise to a number of anti-Asian hate crimes throughout the globe. Then, more than ever, leading to violation of human rights, physical and verbal abuse, and even deaths. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, deaths of countless innocent Asians, all because they were considered to be the so-called animals who spread disease. Another example of racism during the pandemic was in the health sector. A 2020 report from Public Health England showed that COVID-19 death rates were higher amongst the Black and the Asians, considering
that the whites were given better health care and better treatments, and the others were simply neglected. Now, when it comes to ending racism, ladies and gentlemen, we've been told that education and educating is the key. But how can education stop racism when racism is most prominent in schools? In schools, racism is perpetrated not only by the teachers and the administrators, by their biased grading systems, but also by other students. A study conducted showed that in the United States of America, 15.8% reported race-based bullying and harassment negatively affected the students' mental and physical health. That, ladies and gentlemen, deprives the students of right to equality and fair treatment. But ladies and gentlemen, how can we expect children to treat each other equally when adults are treating each other unfairly? A study conducted showed that at workplaces, BAME, Black, Asian, minority ethnicities, were paid fewer wages, less wages compared to their white and colleagues and co-workers. Alongside that, these groups of people were also highly criticized, ignored, and had made assumptions regarding their abilities. This, ladies and gentlemen, has deprived workers of their basic socio-economic rights. So what if one decides to step forward and take action regarding the violation and the racism they face on a regular basis? Well, my dear friends, racism takes its worst form in the legal and the justice system, with people of racial minorities being easily and wrongfully convicted of crimes. Same was the case for George Perry Floyd Jr. when he was suspected of using a counterfeit $20 bill, all because he looked like a criminal, a black man. Later, he was killed by a police officer simply because he was black and for a felon that he never even committed. In terms of court, ladies and gentlemen, people of racial ethnicities and minorities face false accusations, harassment, arbitrary detention, and harsh treatment by the prosecutors. So the question is, what can be done to end racism? We all, ladies and gentlemen, must stand up and talk. We must speak against racism and stop it. Even though several implementations of laws against racism has been done, racists still walk freely without any consequences. We need to stand up for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because yesterday it was George Floyd Jr. Today it could be me, and if we don't speak up, tomorrow it might be any of you. Saying this, I would like to end my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prisma, for your inspiring speech.
Next up, we have Ms. Arushka Katel from Malpe Institute to deliver her speech on the topic child abuse. Let's welcome Ms. Arushka with a huge round of applause.
I would like you all to imagine being sad, alone, helpless, and even angry. I know these emotions cause feelings of sadness, but someone somewhere out there is feeling all of these emotions at once. They are the victims of child abuse. As a victim myself, I can advocate that meeting those children is such a devastating feeling. Abuse not only harms them, but it ruins their beautiful opportunity to live the beautiful life that they could have had. What is child abuse, if you ask? It is any physical, mental, or sexual torture or neglect of a children, especially by those who were supposed to be taking care of his or her well-being. How many of you guys here know a victim of child abuse? I see few. But according to the World Health Organization's Violence Against Children 2020-22 report, it is said that almost 1 billion children of age 2 to 17 have been abused last year. To make this number more clearer, it's almost 34 times the population of Nepal. So whether you know anyone who is a victim of abuse or not, the numbers are clearly seen in this society. Child abuse has affected our generation, and it will definitely affect the next generation. Often it is seen that the victims tend to lose their confidence and slowly turn more introverted. Sometimes it's also seen that the victims can slip out of their personality and slip towards smoking, alcoholism, and even drugs. Because of their low self-esteem, they can even turn more violent, and it can trigger their suicidal tendencies. Cases like the Menendez brother, where Eric Menendez was abused for 12 years by his own father, which later led him and his brother Lyle to kill both their parents in order to be safe from their abuse. Or our own local cases, where teachers severely beat up students in the name of punishment, shows how much we are lacking as a society. According to me, I believe that the law that touches child abuse is written in Constitution of Nepal 2072. It is in Part 3, Article 39, Clause 7. It states that no children should be subjected to physical, mental, or any other sort of torture at home, school, or any other place or situation whatsoever. But does the audience here know what's the punishment for breaking this law? It is that the abuser needs to compensate the victim according to the severity of their crime. Because of such weak laws, not just in Nepal, but in many countries, the abusers walk freely while the victims are left with lifelong trauma. Organizations like UNICEF nowadays work towards saving the children from abuse and giving them justice. And parents teach their children nowadays about good touch and bad touch, and many awareness campaigns are being done. But still, some children still don't have safe space to confide in. Because of this, many children have questions after being abused. Was it my fault? If I tell my parents about this, will they not trust me? Will people judge me because this happened to me? So to all those children who have this question in their mind, and to that 14-year-old me who couldn't speak up to her parents about this, it was never your fault. You were never the one who was the problem. And there will always be people who will stand beside you. You just need to speak up. As the time reminded me, so I'm moving towards concluding my speech. Child abuse, a relatively global issue, often hushed by the families, the society, the managers of society, needs to be resolved by us. As future leaders and as future parents, we need to create an environment which is safer for the generation to come. A child should be playing freely in the ground in sunlight and not living in the nightmare in the darkness of the soul. Quoted from the author David Penzler, this was Arushka Patel from Malpe Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Arushka, for your wonderful speech.
Next up, we have Archita Agrawal from ACE Institute with our topic Freedom of Expression and Advocacy.
As per Arundhati Roy, there is no such thing as voiceless. They are only deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Archita Agrawal, and I'll be speaking to you today about freedom of expression and advocacy. Freedom of expression is a fundamental right which includes right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas regardless of any frontiers. This is a fundamental right which is vital in various aspects of our life as it enables us to question others and express our view if we think something is not right. Freedom of expression also allows people to know that your voice matters. You have the right to say what you think. You share information and demand for a better world. You also have the right to agree or disagree with those in power and express this opinion in peaceful protest. The requirement of freedom of expression is everywhere, as it is quite diverse, and there are several sectors which can be talked about. But here, today I would like to talk about children, who are the most lovable but yet neglected at the same time regarding their opinions. We all may think that a child is expressive. They can demand what they want or say whatever they wish, which is true to some extent. But, however, a child is not allowed to take part in decisions regarding their own life. For instance, if a parent wants their child to take part in some extracurricular activities or choose a certain course, and if the child has a different point of view apart from their parents and wants to do something different, they are said, "You are a child. You don't know what is right for you. We are your parents. We know what to do. We are thinking for you." Saying this, parents tend to ignore their child's opinions and choices. Now, because the child knows that his thoughts and views will not be considered, they will be afraid to or not even bother to express themselves. So here, a child's freedom of expression disappears and they are forced to do what their parents want. Similarly, if talking about women, freedom of expression has always been a right they have had to fight for their entire life. To express what a woman feels and say her thoughts, it is quite challenging. Because if there's a woman who is outspoken and expresses her thoughts openly, she is considered disrespectful and is reminded by others that you are a woman. You should not speak much. You should know your place. And you should get along with what a man says. Now, a woman, she's afraid that if she speaks something, she will be judged by others or she will be shut by others. Thinking this, a woman is forced to give up her freedom of expression. There are also various people who are not able to express themselves just because of the fear of getting judged or being bullied by others. Even though freedom of expression has been secured as a right in the Article 19 of United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, not everyone is able to exercise them fully and comfortably. In our country, Nepal, freedom of expression is considered as the key principle of the Constitution. And if somebody does not agree with the government or has a problem, they are allowed to freely protest peacefully. But, however, there are limitations regarding time, place, and manner. Limitations regarding time, place, and manner apply to all the speech, regardless of the views expressed, if it violates one's rights, advocates hatred, or incites discrimination. So, there are limitations, and So one must know their right, but also they should bear the responsibility. Of not misusing it. There are various laws and organizations who wants to protect people's right, and they are working towards it. But regardless of all these rights and an organization working for it, are there really any platform where all the people can equally exercise their right? Or is there really someone who is willing to listen to them? This is a question which hit me as I prepared for my speech. And so here, I would like to exercise my right to freedom of expression and ask you all a question. Can someone really express their opinion regardless of the position they hold? I would like you all to think. Think, because it is a matter of concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Archita, for your informative speech.
Now we have Ms. Bishakha Sharma Gaudal from British Model College to speak on her topic LGBT rights. Let's welcome her with a huge round of applause.
I am not missing a minute of this. It's a revolution. Starting off with this great quote said by Sylvia Rivera, I would like to greet the audience and the judges with a very warm afternoon. I am Bishakha Sharma Gaudal, representing British Model College in today's Inter-A-Level speech competition. Out of the given topics today, I decided to speak on LGBT rights. The topic itself raises a lot of questions. For example, what is LGBT and what are its rights? Starting off with a very common question, the public tends to ask me whenever I talk about a topic related to LGBT, what is LGBT? Well, according to my research, LGBT refers to an initialism that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. LGBT doesn't only refer to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, but it also refers to all the people who are not heterosexual and do not belong to male or female in the society. LGBT comes under a rainbow umbrella that symbolizes the hope for all the people who are considered abnormal in the society. LGBT community is a very safe space for people who feel unsafe about their gender identity outside in the society, and also for the people who are still questioning their gender identity. As a wise woman once said, no pride for some of us without liberty for all of us. This quote was said by Marsha P. Johnson, who was a black transgender woman and also an activist for LGBTQ rights on the fight of freedom. This quote was also stated in New York's Pride Parade 2013. Well, what is pride anyways? Pride in this context is referred to an integral cultural concept within bisexual, gay, transgender, lesbian, queer, intersex, also LGBTQI plus community, representing solidarity, collectivity, and integrity, also resisting the discrimination and violence. In order to prevent the discrimination and violence the community has been facing, every June 27th, there is a rally held, commonly known as Pride Parade, in different parts of the world. The rights for LGBT community has taken center stage. The community has been fighting for its civil rights in courts and public spaces. In courts and public spaces. People have been coming out as what they are from a very long time. Also well-known individuals from different parts of the world are coming out as what they are. Celebrities like Bhumika Bantai, Ellen DeGeneres, and Parakram Bir Bikram Rana have different pronouns for themselves. Also, we don't have to go back to looking 10 or 20 years back or centuries back where there were no such rights as LGBT rights. Just for the reference, a recent World Cup is a very burning sensation and also a very good example for you all to relate to. The European teams were not allowed to wear an armband and play the tournament, which symbolized one love. And maybe that's kind of funny because why wouldn't they let? Now we know what LGBT is and what are their rights. Let's take a look at our country, whether they support the community or they don't. This goes back to when the people of Nepal's LGBT community were openly derided as social pollutants, but now they enjoy their social and political rights freely. Oh my God, buzzer. Anyways, they enjoy their social and political rights freely, including they also can they also can make their official works as who they are, like male, female, and third gender. In 2007, a resolution was made where the Supreme Court decided to mention legally that in every legal passport or your nagarita, you are allowed to keep third gender, and also to audit all the laws for the people who are being discriminating the community. The laws and also a committee is formed for studying legally same-sex relationships. Although Nepal is ahead of much of the rest of the world, people still practice homophobia. And to eradicating this kind of behavior is very crucial for the society to make it better. So, love is love. You must be able to love anyone you want without the country, government, and the society stopping you. By saying this, I would like to thank my speech, and I would also like to thank the audience and the judges for listening my speech throughout personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bishaka, for your inspiring speech.
Next up, we have Mingmarji Sherpa from Kathmandu World School with the topic Human Trafficking.
Hello? Oh, right. Am I audible? Okay, good morning everyone. I am Mingmar Sherpa. Good afternoon. I am Mingmar Sherpa from Kathmandu World School, here present before you all to give a speech on human trafficking. So to start off, how many of you have heard the word slavery? Raise your hand if you have heard the word slavery. Quite a lot, right? So slavery, we may think that such an act has already been abolished, but modern-day slavery still exists in this 21st century. Human trafficking is the modern-day slavery. We may think, human trafficking is the modern-day slavery. It is an extreme form of exploitation where women, men, and children are obtained or recreated and then exploited of their rights to work against their own will, whether that be by threats, coercion, or fraud. According to the latest global estimates on human trafficking, on modern slavery, provided by an organization called Walk Free, there is about 49.6 million people that are still living in modern slavery. Now, if you combine the population of both Nepal and Sri Lanka, this is the number we would get around. UNICEF estimates that there are around 21 million people that are trafficked in this world, 5.5 million of which are still children. This number is almost double than the amount of enslaved Africans that were once trafficked across the Atlantic over the span of 400 years during the transatlantic slave trade. Now, human trafficking takes place pretty much everywhere, not just in India or Bangladesh or Pakistan, but also in major cities like London, New York, and even our own capital city, Kathmandu. Even as I'm giving this speech right now, someone in this locality could be undergoing an exploitation of their rights due to human trafficking. Now, I request everyone here to raise one of your hand, any hand, just raise it up, and wave to the person next to you. Okay, you did exactly what I told you to do. Why is that? If a stranger came and asked you to do the same thing, would you do it at that moment too? Quite unlikely, right? So what happened right now is a small demonstration of grooming. In this situation, I am in a position where you as the audience are able to trust and believe that my words and actions as of now will bring no harm to your well-being, which is why you're able to trust and follow my sayings. Numerous cases of human trafficking involve the survivors to have first been misled and groomed just like this into following and trusting the words and commands of their traffickers. They are then manipulated and put under the control of another person, trafficked to live a nightmare. Human trafficking has become the third largest crime industry in this world, just behind drugs and arms trafficking. And it is the fastest growing crime. It happens for a variety of reasons. There's the pleasure, the desire, and even revenge. But most of all, human trafficking happens for the money. While figures may vary, the International Labour Organization, ILO, has estimated that there are around 2.4 million people are victims of human trafficking at any given moment, and that the profits made from human trafficking alone is $36 billion per year. $36 billion, a number that surpasses Google's profit by $2 billion. Let that sink in. However, the issue here isn't just on how it occurs, but on why human trafficking is still so prevalent in this day and age. Sorry. So, human trafficking, to prevent this act, what we must do when the question arises, how can I as an individual help? You can start by being aware of your actions, so your consumer actions. You can swear to not buy or consume any goods or services that are linked directly or indirectly to forced labor, sexual exploitation, or any other forms of forced subjugation. We as the privileged ones with platforms to speak on must use our voice for the voiceless. With that note, I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mingmar, for your informative speech. Now we would like to call upon the stage Mr. SM Hamza Hassan from Malpe Institute to deliver his speech on the topic racism. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you imagine, or rather, would you believe if I told you we live in a world where in any corner of the world, you just go there, you won't be judged upon the color of your skin, the way you talk, your beliefs, whether they be political or religious. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, that is a sad reality. The problem is that not everywhere in the world we have done some good, but majority of the places you go up and you're scared of revealing your true self, because you have this insecurity that no matter how competent you are, how intellectual you are, how good grades you get, how good your fortnight streak or KD is, whatever, but still you will be judged. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hamza Hassan. I'm from Malpe Institute, and today I'm talking about a topic which needs no introduction and hasn't been talked about for mere decades, rather centuries: racism. Now, what exactly is racism? Yes, you can Google up the definition, that is one thing. But the other thing is that it's a disease, a contagious one at that. Like any disease, it targets people which are immune to that certain disease. Now, to talk in certain layman term, this disease attacks a person which, correct me if I'm wrong, they just don't like. They just don't like how you look, you talk, what your beliefs are. They just don't like you. All right, it is one thing to not like a person, but it is another to discriminate them, to have a certain prejudice against them. That is just inhumane. That is racism. Now, the thing is, we can talk on it for like on and on and on. What ashames me as a human being is that we just didn't find racism as an issue yesterday. It's been there around for not mere decades, but centuries. Whether it be the American Revolution, French Revolution, the 1887 independence, the first independence war of the Indian subcontinent, whether it be the 1971 separation of Bangladesh from Pakistan, whether it be the 1947 Indian-Pakistan separation, whatsoever, we have seen racism everywhere. And now, let's just ask ourselves, we can make solutions for problems which just were created yesterday. I mean, if I tell you that we have a so-so problem, I know about 10 people from this room will raise their hand, I've got a solution. Why isn't that with racism? I mean, yes, you'll go on your Instagram, hashtag BLM. Great. You got 10 more followers. But then you just keep your phone away. Do you do anything productive? No. Now, let's just get a bit more into racism. Racism isn't, yes, it is embedded in in some people's DNA, those who indulge in it, but it's not from the beginning. Nothing is embedded in their DNA except, of course, the good looks and stuff and the height. But it is taught. It is a trait, a heinous one at that, and it is taught. Now, the Ku Klux Klan, Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, or Derek Chauvin, the Minnesota police officer who, rather than protect the community, murdered one. Now, it would be better if a man who spent his whole life fighting against racism explained it to you. Nelson Mandela, no better way to put it, a legend, said it, and I quote, "No one is born with a hatred to hate a certain person due to their, whether it be religion, color of their skin, or background. Hatred must be taught. They must learn hatred in order to obviously do whatever, but still. If a man can learn hate, he can be taught love, as love is more natural towards the human heart. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, if people can learn racism, they can be influenced by your words and go against a certain community, they can obviously also go towards that same community and hug them. But, as the bell has so kindly reminded me, I've run out of time. I mean, almost about to, but still. I'm about to leave the podium. There's a 101%, just one second. There's a 101% probability we're not going to meet again, but I just want to leave you with a question. And that question is, what is the square root of 264? Do you want your children or your children's children to live in a world where they're judged upon by the color of their skin or their religion, or where they can freely roam around, be with anyone they want? Thank you. And the square root of 264 is 16.4. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. S.M. Hamza Hassan, for your wonderful speech.
Next up, we have Benny Prasad from Global College International with his topic, Freedom of Expression and Advocacy. I would like to repeat Benny Prasad with topic, Freedom of Expression and Advocacy.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Benny Prasad from Global College International, and I'm going to talk about freedom of expression. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom of expression is a fundamental right as recognized by Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and it is enlisted under Article 19. Basically, it states that you're free to express anything. You're free to state your own opinions, regardless of the boundaries or laws as prescribed by the nation. You are free to express anything. Your opinions matter, your voice matters. It is the substantial blessing of your life, and you're allowed to share information and demand a better world. Freedom of expression under Article 19 stating the concept of free speech is amended by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, stating that certain amount of restrictions can be imposed on this right to freedom of expression. There are certain, talking about the history, ladies and gentlemen, ancient Greeks pioneered free speech as a democratic practice, and in the United States, the First Amendment adopted in 1761 protects the right to free speech. In most of the countries around the world, freedom of expression is recognized as a foundational right, and it is also guaranteed by their respective constitutions. For instance, the Constitution of Nepal guarantees the right to free speech under Article 17, Part 3. However, this concept is not an absolute concept, which means that it doesn't grant you the absolute freedom to talk whatever you want. Taking examples, we can take example of Russia and Ukraine war. During the wartime, both the countries had imposed restrictions on free speech for the sake of protection of territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. And utilizing Russian propaganda law for LGBT, Russian government also restricts speeches concerning LGBT issues. And in India, the speeches, expressions, movies, which relates humiliating someone or hurting the religious sentiments of the people is banned by Indian government. There's one infamous documentary film named as India's Daughter, which depicted the case of 2012 Delhi gang rape case, and it was supposed to be broadcast on 8th March 2015 to coincide with International Women's Day, but it was banned by Indian government, stating that it was an intentional insult to the modesty of a woman. It was intentionally designed to breach the status of peace of the country. So by these restrictions for absolute free speech, there are many controversies running around the world, and it is hard to deduce that whether the concept of absolute free speech should be implemented or not. Now, I have a genuine question for you, ladies and gentlemen. Is our present society ready to cope up with the concept of absolute free speech? Can you imagine yourself in a society where every individual is allowed to abuse the other person, every individual is allowed to criticize others, is allowed to deliver hate speeches against each other? Such a toxic environment is not preferred by anyone. Such a derogatory environment and toxic environment only leads to complete destruction. Hence, the concept of absolute free speech is yet not to be implemented in our society. Critics often assume that mutual negotiation among people's ideas and the social norms and values have created a hypothetical boundary, that boundary which separates the tolerable offensive speeches. Even if those speeches are offensive, they might be under a certain limitation, so it can be considered under the right to freedom of expression, but those kind of intolerable speeches which should be prohibited as they promote violence or discrimination among people. So even if the right to freedom of expression is not absolute, it doesn't grant you complete freedom, but always remember that, ladies and gentlemen, this limited and legitimate use of freedom of expression can change the entire world, as a single speech has that potentiality to change the thought process of entire mankind. You should value your own expressions, you should value your own speech, realize the importance and essence of your voice and the impact it puts on the other person. Now, lastly, I would like to thank Global College International for granting me this opportunity. And I'm signing off by stating that everyone must stand up for freedom, humanity, and dignity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Beni, for such an informative speech.
As we are heading to the last contestant of 6th Enter A-Level speech competition of GCI, we have Anusha Dakal from Little Angels College with her topic, Worker Safety.
Hello? Hello? Karl Marx warned the world of capitalists exploiting vulnerable workers for private gains. Although this concept sounds entirely dystopian, it is the reality of the world we live in today. Good afternoon to the panel of judges and the dear audience. I feel incredibly privileged to be standing in front of you and talking to you today. Worker safety is a recognized international human right, and it is also a subject of paramount importance. When we speak about worker safety, we must have a global perspective. So let me give me a chance to give you a global perspective on worker safety. While I discuss worker safety, let me tell you a couple of stories. This is a story of the workers in palm oil industry in Guatemala. These workers face dire conditions in their work. They work in scorching heat and they are only paid a minimum wage. These working conditions are reminiscent of the times of slavery. In the world of bounty, these lives are the ones in obscurity. This is the story of the rife conditions in agriculture. In the world of fast cars, these are the workers being driven to exhaustion. This is a story of cobalt miners in the Democratic Republic of Congo. These Congolese miners also have to work for excessive hours and they face degradation and discrimination, and even basic health provisions are ignored. In the world of fashion, these are the forgotten. This is the story of women in Bangladesh and South India who work in sweatshops and are made to work relentlessly without any toilet breaks and without the minimum wage. In the world of spectacular sporting events, these are the sequestered. This is the story of migrant workers who build the Lusail Stadium in Qatar. The workers who worked in the Lusail Stadium were kept away from the capital to private camps, and they were kept in cramped rooms with completely unsanitary conditions. And in their work, they were put in insurmountable amount of risk. Of all of those migrant workers, 120 death certificates and 120 dead bodies were sent back to Nepal. Of all workers, migrant workers are the most vulnerable. The kafala system in Qatar exploits workers relentlessly. The kafala system makes sure that the employee is directly tied to the employer and their passports are controlled, which means that they have very less autonomy when they move to a foreign country for the purpose of labor, for the purpose of feeding their families. The problem is these examples are only a few of the mass exploitation of workers all around the world. And it is a pity that in the 21st century of progress and prosperity, the subject of worker rights is more a privilege than a basic human right. According to the International Labour Organization, 27.6 million workers are in forced labor, of which 2.7 million workers die of unsafe working conditions. These numbers are appalling because a safe working condition is a need for every single worker. We must vouch for the protection of workers, and we must vouch for the protection of workers, and we must make pathways that protects workers in all industries, in all sectors, across all borders and across all cultures. We must make sure that we advocate for worker safety so that no child receives their father in a coffin, to make sure that no woman goes to work in fear of harassment or abuse, to make sure no person sleeps on a hungry stomach, to make sure we protect what makes us human, to make sure we protect the values of human rights that bind our society together, to make sure we protect these values that are human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha, for your inspiring speech. Now I would like to request the chief guest of our event, Mr. Prajwal Oza, to come up on the stage and express a few words.
Hello, everyone. The managing director of this college, the chair of this program, distinguished students and audience. When I was listening. Which one is on? All right, sorry again. Can you hear me now? Thanks. Okay, when I was listening to the participants, I was being, taken back to my, is it gone again? Okay. So do I have to keep on pressing this one? Because, yeah, it's gone. Okay, hi. So when I was listening to the participants, I was taken back to my school days and the college days. I didn't have this kind of gut to come up here and speak like this and in this manner, So I was, trying to compare myself with my school days and college days. And it is phenomenal, people coming here, participants coming here, doing so much of research, coming up here and talking about what they feel about human rights, the issues of human rights is very appreciative. One of the events that I recalled, I was doing my master's and in India, and as a freshman, I was supposed to be one of the participants in Mr. Fresher party. So I was one of the candidates, So being a candidate, I was supposed to give a speech in front of the audience, like so much of this crowd. So I was called, my name was called, and I went up. As soon as I was on the stage, and when I saw the people downstairs, I was frozen. I just couldn't speak because I was not trained in that manner, and I was not told to speak, like coming up on the stage. So I was literally frozen. I just couldn't speak. And the next thing, what I did was horrible, and it was not good. I said maybe I should leave, and I went out without speaking a word. And that reminded me of the importance of these kind of speeches, this kind of competition. Had I was in a competition before, I was participated in this kind of competition, maybe I would not have those embarrassing situations. So, the student coming up here and giving their speech, giving their opinions, giving their, research-based talks is absolutely amazing. And human rights is one of the very controversial issues. That's what I feel. If you look at the human rights issue, it has been in our world since last 800, 900 centuries. Like Magna Carta started in the 13th century. Then after Bill of Rights came in the 17th century, and Human Rights Declaration came in the 20th century. So if you see the development of human rights, it's been centuries ahead. But still, it's very controversial. A human right that we believe in one part of the world is positive, and the same issue is other part of the world is negative. Like, for example, you can see the current case of World Cup. Like migrants workers are being brutally misbehaved, or their conditions were not proper. That's what we see from one aspect. But you see from other aspect, that's the international migration. That's the working style. That's how people see, from other perspectives. So that's a different issue. Another example is like LGBTQ. In some nation, the LGBTQ is illegal and it's valid, and some nation it's not. So it's one of the controversial issues also. But having said that, human rights is one of the founding character, founding laws, founding right of any human being. So what? It starts before the right of human rights. It starts before you are born, before you come into this world, and until you die. So this is only one law that applies to any human being before that human being is born. So it's a very sensitive issue. Yeah, and like looking at the participants, I'm really encouraged. I'm really happy to see the people coming up here, participants coming up here and giving their speeches and talking about, expressing their ideas, views of human rights. It's very appreciative, and I really congratulate even GCI, organizing this kind of, competition. And also, I like to congratulate all, the schools, students, coming up here and giving your best shot. Well, thank you for again inviting me as a chief guest. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you, sir. I would like to again request Mr. Prajwal Ojha to hand out the participation certificates to all our participants.
Thank you all. So here we go, the distribution of the participation certificate. So I would like to request the students and the representative from the institute to be here on the stage and collect the participation certificate along with the letter of appreciation for the school for this participation. So I would like to call James Institute of Higher Secondary Education. Round of applause, everyone. Thank you, Pranisha and Dinasa, for your participation. Similarly, I would like to go with Little Angels College, Anusa Thakal, Ritik Gattaula. I would like to request the faculty from LA to join up on the stage and collect the letter of appreciation. Yeah. Banu Gautam, sir. Okay, we have the representative for LA. Manu, sir. I would like to welcome Levin Bautista Pradhan from Campaign School and Sweta Koirala from Campaign School. Likewise, I would like to request the representative of British Model College along with the participants Bishakha Sharma Gaudel, Samriddhi Adhikari. I would like to request the participants from Global College International, Ms. Nihona and Benny Prasai, to collect the participation certificate. Moving on ahead with the ACE Institute of Management, Archita Agrawal and Nivesh Shrestha on the stage, please. ACE Institute, representative for ACE Institute. Moving on ahead, I would like to request Malpi Institute, Aruska Katil and SM Hamza Hassan. Malpi, I would like to request Esthir sir to be on the stage and collect the letter of appreciation for the school. Likewise, I would like to go with Nami College. Miss Doma Sherpa and Shreya Tungana, along with the representative of Nami. Moving on, I would like to request Kathmandu World School, Miss Anamika Karki, Miss Mingmardi Sherpa, and the representative, Mr. Rajesh sir. Please be on the stage. I would like to call Trinity International College, Mr. Himanshu Bahadur Subedi Chetri, along with Abhi Shrestha. Moving on, Chelsea International Academy, Mr. Sakshat Pant and Prisma Sitaula. Representative for Chelsea. Stir sir, please. Yes. Moving on, Kastramandap A-Level Academy, Bipin Timil Sinha. And I would like to request Orient College, Mr. Kabir Raz Pandey and Prajwal Kharka. Orient College, if you have any representative here. Okay. We would like to thank all the participating schools, participants for being here. And thank you so much, sir. We might take some time further, so until the result is being calculated, I would like to request Mr. Rishabh Dev Khanal. Okay, there's a slight change in the schedule. I would like to request again Mr. Prajwal sir on the stage, sir. And I would like to request our principal sir, Dr. Subhas Shrestha. I would also like to call Mr. Rishabh Dev Khanal on the stage, the coordinator for the program, and hand over the token of love to our chief guest of this event. Thank you, Prajwal sir, being the light of this show. Round of applause, everyone. So I would like to go with the vote of thanks I would like to call Mr. Rishabdev Khanal on the stage. Rishabh sir, I would like to request you for the vote of thanks, sir.
Thank you, Susan sir, and the students. Master of Ceremony. Respected chairperson of this program, Dr. Subhash Shrestha, our chief guest, Mr. Prajwal sir. I should recall Dr. D.L. Puri sir, respective panel of judges, and now Dr. Arora sir, faculties, special invitees for today's program, the participants, dear students, IT personnel, and the others present here. It gives me immense pleasure to come to the end of this program, as this is the 6th inter-A-level speech contest that we are going to the end. We are at the end of this program. Coming to this stage, what I have understood is this is one of the prominent way to learn for the real life situation. For example, we had invited you, the students. You must have something in your mind, researched, prepared, edited. Maybe you went through, memorized, practiced, so many things you did. And finally, you are on the stage. When you are competing with the people, it is obvious that if someone is fast runner, then that fast runner will lead you. That does not mean that you are losing. If you are trying your best, you are in your own level. That's why, though we said it is a competition, more than it is a competition, it is the opportunity for the participation. So, I would like to thank first the principals and coordinators of the participating schools who have thought that this way of learning is important for the student's life. Similarly, I go to the participants. Participants, you did a very good job. Again, I repeat, don't think about who will be first, who will be the second. When you are on the stage with the content, subject matter, your attitude of expression, you are already winning. You are already a winner. Today, you are in this stage. Maybe in the next, your hesitation will remove. So I'd like to thank the participants for participating in this speech contest. Next, I'd like to go to the judges. It is not easy to judge the people like you. And the topic was given from the different sectors among the human rights. Some of you were talking about the LGBTQ, some of you were talking about the human rights or rights of speech, or you can say the politics, or you can say education, or girls' side, or so many things are there. And they accepted our invitation, and they are working for the result, and we are waiting for that. I'd like to thank all the judges for being here, irrespective of their important time. Similarly, I'd like to thank Dr. T.L. Puri, who is a patron of our A-level college, and I remember him for his time and his support. Similarly, I'd like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Prajwal, who have been here with us for this more than 3 hours, supporting us, listening to us, and giving feedback to us. So I'd like to thank Prajwal sir once again. Thank you, sir. Similarly, Principal sir, who is always inspiring us to do good for the students. His words are always with us. His support is always with us. Because of that, we have been successful to come up to this stage and this time. Thank you, sir, for your time. And other guests, I should say, Dr. Aurora, who have been with us. He had been supporting us, guiding us to do whenever we do any program, especially for this speech contest. He had contributed a lot. Thank you, Aurora, sir, for being with us. I can see the other guests, and I would like to thank you all for being here. Admin head, Sanjay sir, thank you, sir, for your all the time support. And finance head, Silas sir, thank you for your support in any need. Without you, we cannot run anywhere. IT personnel, I should thank them for their continuous support. And I should not leave A-level faculties without their inspiration. Our students could not come up to this stage. And I should salute faculties of all the colleges, all A-level colleges. Thank you, all the faculties. In the same way, our A-level students, I know it is very difficult to listen to others. And sitting in one place, that is also, sometimes you have to look at the face of your coordinator or assistant program coordinator or Kusum ma'am or any others. So it is difficult, but with passion, you are there and you listen. I hope you got something, at least something from this, and I'm very much hopeful that you are enjoyed the speech and you learned something. Thank you very much for being patient. And I should not leave my A-levels admin team, who had been following all the instructions made by us, given by us, and even late evening, early morning, they were working for this to make this program up to this stage. Thank you, my team, especially Sujan sir, Kusum ma'am, and Rikesh sir, and especially our Didi, who have been with us all the time. And all the concerned people who are involved and supported directly or indirectly to make this program successful. I would like to thank all the people, even if I missed any particular name, I remember to those people all the time. And to make this contest, it was not an easy task. Global College International has been keeping this program as an annual calendar. Before last year, we conducted this program on Women's Right Day, Women's Day, 8th March. And one year we did this on child right. And many of the students know we are doing this on this Human Rights Day. It is happening, I mean, it is on 10th December, tomorrow. And along with this, I would like to take a leave from here, and all the audiences, very important and very, interesting part is yet to come, because our judges are there to calculate the result. Till then, my dear students, again I say, It is very difficult to be there for some time, but please wait for some time, and till the result we'll be here, and we will depart after the result and after the photo session. So let's not make chaotic situations while going down, or there's a lift you may not get at a time. Please think of that one. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone who has directly or indirectly supported to make this program successful. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Just a moment, 3 to 5 minutes, I guess. And all the volunteers, please call your friends. All the volunteers, you are getting certificate after this declaration of Okay, I got one more information. Leben Basista Pradhan wants to sing a song to fill the gap. Please have patience. Thank you, Basista. Please come. It's here. It's here.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. While everyone's waiting for the results, and since I kind of messed up my speech, I was wondering if I could sing a song for you guys. So I'll be singing without a track, but feel free to sing along. I was thinking of singing Photograph by Ed Sheeran. Okay. Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. And it is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, time's forever frozen. Still, you can keep me inside a pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You'll never be alone. And if you hurt me, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside these pages. You just own me, and I won't ever let you go. Loving can heal. Loving can mend your soul. and it's the only thing that I know. Yeah, I swear it won't get easier. Remember down every piece of you. And it is the only thing that makes us feel alive. Ooh, we get this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves. Her eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside a pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You'll never be alone. And if you hurt me, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside the sages. You just own me, and I won't ever let you go. Oh, when I'm away, I will remember how you kissed me under the lamppost back on 6th Street, hearing your whisper through the phone. Oh, wait for me to come home. Thank you.
Thank you, friend. Friend student. See how easily the gap was bridged. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we all enjoyed it. And now we are with the results. And to announce the result with some remarks, I'd like to invite Mr. Maxim Rahman, who is one of the judges. Maxim Rahman here.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I do want to say one thing first of all. What all the competitors did today was incredibly brave. And I'd just like to say a quick round of applause for everyone. Really, it's not easy at all to come up here and do what you did. So I think you should all be proud of yourselves. Not only for the fact that you came up and gave a speech in front of an audience, but also for the research and the practice and the effort you put in. You know, it must have taken such a long time to put all that effort in, and I think hopefully some learning for yourselves came out of it. I learned a lot from what I heard, all the different stories about different rights for people around the world, different situations, different challenges people face. And I think what really comes through is the fact that as human beings, we face challenges every day, but as a group of people, we can face them together and make a better world. I really think so. Now, last year I had the honor and pleasure of judging, and this year is my second time. Again, the standard was incredibly high. I think it's so difficult for the judges. It really is. I'm sorry that we can't give you all the top prizes. We have to choose winners, so we have done. And first I'd like to announce the second runner-up. If I could find my sheet. So, drum roll please. The second runner-up is from GEMS Institute of Higher Education, and it's Dilasha Parajuli.
Third position holder receives rupees 3,000 medals, certificate.
managers now. Second. Yes,
The second one.
Okay, so now we're here for the first runner-up. Again, a very small drum roll. And the first runner-up is from Kathmandu World School, and it's Anamika Kaki.
Congratulations. This time I'd like to invite panel of judges as well. Mahesh sir and Mahavir sir. First runner-up or second position holder receives rupees 5,000. That's for inspiration.
Okay, now is the moment we've been waiting for. Another short drum roll. So, the winner for this year, a familiar face actually, from Trinity International College is Avi Shresha.
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations. And the first position holder, the winner, receives rupees 10,000 along with the gold medals. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. And now, one moment is over. Another moment is, I would like to request Principal Sir to award the token of love to our respected judges, panel of judges. So I'd like to invite Mahesh Paudal sir, Maxim Rahman, Mahavir sir, I said in your absence, it has been very tough job. It is not easy job to evaluate such speech. You accepted our invitation and did such a great job. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Principal sir, and all the panel of judges. Okay, last not the least, the program would not have been successful without those people whom I missed last time, and now I have to say. Volunteers! The volunteers, those who were supporting us in every moment to make this program successful. So I'd like to invite here Mili Tamang. Mili Tamang, she had been MC for the, at first for the formal program. Likewise, Mukta Dhanvantari, Pranishtha Upadhyay, Kisan Kumar Mahato, who has been in IT, Presika Prasai, Utrina Nirola, Prince Neupani, Ojasvi Manandar, Tanisha Kumari, Abhinav Chetri, Pratima Kayastha, Ishika Pastakoti, Aska Shrestha, Srijala Sigdel, Sushil Dhami, Manish Kumar Yadav, Shulabh Khatiwada, Sagar Kaki, Parth Brandon Betwal, Prince Thapa Chetri. Thank you very much for your wonderful support, without which we would not make this program successful. Now I request the volunteers to go back to your duty. Those who are in lift duty, they can go back to the lift with the cards. And the others will be down there in the 8th floor. We are providing a packet of lunchbox to our participants and invitees from the different schools. Volunteers, please lead them towards that side. And I request my colleagues, teachers. Oh, before that, we are taking group photo. I'm sorry. All the dignitaries and participants. Dignitaries and participants, may I invite you here? Yes, please. Yeah. I'm sorry. Main important thing. Yes, participants from different schools, we want to take one group photographs. Please come on the stage. Participants from different schools.
Yes, participants, please come, please come. Yes.
All the participants, please come. Please participate. It'll be a good memory for you. Yes, please find the place. Come forward. Okay. Yes. I request all the faculties, teachers, please stay for 5 more minutes and we'll go down together. Thank you.